mean, one of the classes I teach is thinking from a different place. And one of the things I've written about is indigenous thinking, first of all, is not binary thinking historically. Philosophically, indigenous people think in terms of complements. The second thing is through kinships. Kinships is extended throughout indigenous worlds to every human and non-human being entity. So there's no nature-culture divide. There's your basic binary that you have in the West. Culture is considered to be dominant over nature. And of course, that has led us to the environmental catastrophes we're facing today. For indigenous people, there was no nature-culture divide, right? Everything was connected in a social system. And so one native thinker, Greg Cheyfitz, has pointed out that there's no word in any indigenous language for animal. There's no human-animal division. There are differences that are noted. Animals are not the same thing as humans, but they are accorded the same respect. They are part of a family. Now somebody's going to say to me, yeah, but look at Indians kill deer and elk. And yes, they do. But because of the ceremonial relationship they have with these kin, there are very strict limits on what you can kill for. You can't hunt for sport, for example. If you kill something, you have to use it to stay alive. It's part of a sustainability system. And typically, there's a ceremony that goes into killing this kin entity, this deer or this elk, that slows everything down and makes you conscious of the fact that you owe these kin your life and due respect. And so you not only have to recognize that respect, you have to maintain it. You have to maintain those populations and show them respect as well. Capitalism, in dividing culture from nature, turns quote unquote nature into an exploited commodity. That's clear enough. And so the settler colonial mentality has to do with the capitalist mentality. Initially, I think settlers came over and tried to find sustainable ways of life, but very, very, very quickly were absorbed into capitalist machinery, which ruined a lot of them, by the way. The family farm in the United States is a dead issue, pretty much. It's been turned into agribusiness. I mean, capitalism swallows everything. And so whereas settlers came over to find sustainable ways of living that they couldn't in Europe, they very soon got absorbed into a capitalist mode of existence. And I think the whole thought process, the binary thought process, is a destructive thought process. In other words, it's me and you. It's not, we're a complementary interacting system of community. And individualism, which is capitalism carried to a fairly well, really the engine of capitalism, compete, right? Until death do us part competition, I think is not a part of native systems at all, which had to do with sharing, with keeping the community alive, with sustaining life for everybody. That system is antithetical to a capitalist system. And that was the settler mentality. I don't think it has anything to do, the whole question of race is a 19th century invention. The West invented Black people, white people, Indians, these groups of people separated into racial categories. And capitalism has used that to a fairly well. It's worked to disunify these groups, to make them not look towards the corporate power that is ruining their lives, all our lives in one way or another, but to get everybody to think in binaries and to see my interests are not compatible with your interests. We're in competition for limited resources, and I think that's the settler, ultimately the settler mentality.